Gloria Hartman had never believed in dramatic endings. Not in books, not in marriages, and certainly not in Zoom calls. At 67, Gloria still held herself with quiet grace, the kind that came from a lifetime of being dependable, measured, and endlessly overlooked. Her silver hair was always pinned back with care. Her voice was soft but precise. She had taught literature for 32 years, raised 3 children, and buried both parents and illusions with a kind of composed dignity most people mistook for fragility. But that night, sitting alone in the den, surrounded by dim lamplight and the stale echo of an unfinished conversation, Gloria felt something stir inside her. Something sharp, primal, a voice no longer content to whisper. Martin, her husband of 45 years, had messaged her less than an hour ago. "Babe, don't join the Zoom tonight. Some last-minute client chaos. We'll catch you later, okay? Love you." She stared at the text on her iPad. It blinked back at her like a lie-wearing cologne. It wasn't the words. It was the pattern. This was the third trip in 6 months. "Consulting retreat," he said. "Client strategy weekend," he said. "Too many flights, too many time zone issues." But something had shifted. He had stopped sharing photos. He no longer FaceTimed. His shirts had started smelling different when he returned. Unfamiliar detergent, hints of vanilla perfume, and Gloria had stopped asking questions. Until now. She minimized his message and opened an old folder in her email. Deep down, she'd kept it for exactly this reason. A copy of an old Zoom meeting link Martin had forwarded her months ago, back when he used to be proud to show her off on calls with colleagues. She copied it, pasted it. The screen loaded. She wasn't expecting anything. Maybe just a blank screen. Maybe a password prompt. Maybe her own paranoia staring back at her. What she saw instead shattered the air around her like a dropped wine glass. Martin appeared on the screen, seated in what he claimed was a hotel suite in Chicago. But Gloria knew that wallpaper, knew it wasn't the Hyatt. The color was wrong. The angle of the window light was wrong. The intimacy of the background, a bookshelf with picture frames, a lit candle, a folded robe on a chair, was all wrong. And then she saw her, a woman, younger, late 30s, maybe early 40s, long dark hair, bare feet padding across the carpet, wearing nothing but a silk robe that wasn't hers. She leaned over Martin and kissed the side of his face like she belonged there. Martin smiled, touched her hand, said something softly. The mic didn't catch it. But Gloria didn't need to hear the words. Her hand didn't tremble. Her breathing didn't spike. She simply sat straighter, watched, memorized the frame, the angle, the timestamp. She pressed record on her screen capture app. Then, and only then, did she click leave meeting. The room went silent. Gloria sat still, her spine held straight like steel under velvet. Her eyes burned but didn't spill. She had taught thousands of students about foreshadowing, irony, and the beauty of painful prose. And now it seemed she was living it. She stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water. Her fingers brushed the marble countertop, the one she and Martin had chosen during their last renovation. Back when growing old together still meant something. Now it was the scene of a new story. And this time, she wasn't just the narrator. She was going to be the author. And Martin Hartman had no idea what kind of ending she was writing. Gloria didn't sleep that night, not because of heartbreak. She had passed that stage years ago. What she felt now was clarity, cold, sobering, and razor-edged. At 3:14 a.m., she sat at the dining table with her laptop open, bathed in the sterile glow of the screen. Her glasses slid low on her nose, and a yellow legal pad lay beside her. Columns forming, bullets listing, passwords scribbled down with terrifying precision. This wasn't an emotional reaction. It was an academic dissection of betrayal. She started with his email. Martin had never changed his old secondary email, the one he once used to forward articles or travel confirmations. Gloria had access from years ago, back when trust was still a shared language. The inbox was a mess, but within it, she found digital gold, Airbnb confirmations, dates that didn't match his client trips, a luxury condo in Santa Fe, 5 nights ocean-facing, booked under Martin H., another in Miami, one in Tulum, a Parisian flat, 2 summers ago, when he claimed he was attending a sustainability conference in Brussels. Each location held one consistent detail. The guest number was always 2. She clicked the message thread for the Miami trip. There, in plain sight, was a review left by the host. Wonderful couple. Emma was lovely and left the space spotless. Would welcome them again. Emma, that was the first time she saw the name, but it wouldn't be the last. Using Emma's full name, which Gloria discovered through a shared PDF itinerary Martin had once carelessly attached, she searched Instagram. There she was. Emma Lane, mid-30s, holistic healer, business mentor, emotional alignment coach. Her bio reeked of pseudo-spiritual sales tactics and borrowed inspiration quotes. And yet, her photos told another story. A story of expensive hotels, spa weekends, private jets, and intimate candlelit dinners with an unnamed companion. But Gloria spotted him in the reflection of a wine glass, in a blurred photo taken from the side. Martin, always in the background, always hidden. She kept scrolling. A post from 2 months ago showed Emma standing on the deck of a home Gloria didn't recognize. The caption manifested this: "My first co-owned property, grateful beyond." Words. That was the moment Gloria's eyes narrowed. She opened Martin's shared cloud storage. They had synced devices years ago when traveling frequently. He never unlinked her. It took time. The folders were cluttered. But in a subfolder titled Tax Docs 21, she found it. Deed of Trust, subject property. 2112 Orchid Hill Road, Santa Fe. NM co-owners, Martin Hartman, Emma Lane. Her heart stopped. He had purchased a home. Not for Gloria, not with Gloria, with her. And it wasn't just that. The financing details listed an account she didn't recognize. Gloria opened their banking app. Martin had moved large amounts out of their joint savings over several months into a business checking account under a different bank. Global Core Holdings, LLC. She searched that name, found it linked to a series of wellness startups Emma had promoted, shell companies, shady coaching programs, pay-to-join empowerment retreats for vulnerable women. Martin wasn't just cheating, he was funding a fraud with her money. And then came the breaking point, a file titled POA Form Signed. Gloria clicked. There it was, a forged power of attorney, her signature copied from old documents, giving Martin sweeping rights to manage, sell, and transfer joint marital property on her behalf. Notarized in a city she had never even visited. She sat still, her chest like ice, but her mind alive with fury. This wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditated financial erasure, the kind of erasure women like her, quiet, aging, loyal, never saw coming. She reached for her phone and left herself a voice note. May 14th, discovered evidence of property theft, forged signature on POA. Begin audit, get copies. Lawyer next. Stay calm. Then she began organizing it all. A folder labeled Martin Truth appeared on her desktop. Within it, screenshots of Emma's posts, bank statements, deeds, the Airbnb trail, the forged signature, downloaded Zoom footage, and finally she added one text file at the top. You made me invisible, Martin. Now I'm going to make you transparent. Gloria Hartman always believed the most dangerous kind of thief was the one who smiled across your dinner table. Martin had done exactly that for years. But now, with the evidence quietly mounting in her private folder, she no longer saw him as a husband. He was a hostile entity, a charming, cunning man playing a long con. And for years, she'd been the mark. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was systemic, financial, legal. She needed answers, real ones. So Gloria called the one person Martin always told her to let him handle, their longtime financial advisor, Cameron Wolfe. She dialed from a prepaid phone, told Cameron she wanted to meet privately, without Martin. She said it was about estate planning, updating her will, something discreet. Cameron agreed. He always liked Gloria, respected her sharp mind. He just never knew how much Martin had kept her in the dark. They met at his office 2 days later. The lobby smelled like mahogany and money. Cameron welcomed her with a warm smile, offered chamomile tea. Gloria declined. Her eyes were sharper than he remembered. She came with a black leather folder and a pen that clicked like a metronome. He began pulling up accounts, assets, retirement portfolios. She let him talk for a bit, let him ease into his rhythm. Then she leaned in and asked, "Can you show me the lien information on our house?" Cameron paused. "Lien? There's no—" He blinked. Oh, wait." He typed something. His face shifted. "There's a reverse mortgage here. It was filed in 2021. You'd have signed off on this." "I didn't." He looked up. "You didn't?" "No, I've never signed any mortgage paperwork since we paid the house off in 2004. Cameron now looked pale. "Gloria, your signature is here, on 2 notarized forms." She didn't blink. "I need copies." He nodded silently, but it got worse. As he dug deeper, Gloria asked about her parents' trust, a robust fund her late father had established after selling his small business empire. It had paid Gloria a modest monthly dividend for nearly 2 decades. Cameron pulled it up. "I didn't realize you stopped taking distributions." "I didn't." He stared at the screen, confused. "The trust was liquidated last August. $420,000 was transferred to a managed fund, a limited partnership entity. You didn't approve that?" "No. What's the name on the partnership?" Cameron hesitated. "Lane and Hartman Ventures." The room went silent. Gloria slowly set her pen down. Emma's last name, Martin's name, a venture fund, built on her trust. She leaned back, a strange calm washing over her. Cameron rubbed his temples. "Gloria, I don't know how he got these approvals past the bank without red flags. The POA on record was forged." He looked like he might vomit. "I'll notify the compliance office immediately," he said, "and you need a forensic attorney. Now." "I already have one in mind," she replied coldly. "I'm not here to panic. I'm here to collect receipts." She stood to leave, but then paused. "Cameron, one more thing." He looked up. "If he tries to access any account using my name, I want it flagged, not blocked. Let it go through. Just notify me." He frowned. "You're letting him keep access?" "I want him to think I'm still sleeping." That evening, Gloria walked through the home Martin had mortgaged behind her back. She stood in the kitchen and looked at the copper faucet they installed on their 30th anniversary. He had picked it, said it made the house look stronger. She pressed her fingers to the cold metal and whispered, "You should have picked a vault instead, Martin." Then she turned off the lights and went upstairs. In her study, she added a new folder. Asset Theft, Phase 2. Inside, reverse mortgage documents, forensic signature analysis requests, trust liquidation record, screenshots of Emma's wellness retreat, marketing plan, notarized POA copy marked forged, begin prosecution track. Then she added a sticky note on her monitor. "He took the money. He took the house. He took my silence. Now I take everything else." The night Martin Hartman returned from his work trip, Gloria made beef bourguignon. He always loved it, said it reminded him of their early years, before the promotions, before the silence, before the secrets. The house was spotless. Candles flickered on the table. The same wine glasses from their 40th anniversary sat waiting, polished, pristine, as if time could be rewound by setting the stage. Martin walked in like nothing had happened. "Smells incredible," he said, dropping his suitcase by the door. Gloria smiled. "I thought I'd surprise you." "You did," he chuckled, kissing her on the cheek. "God, I miss this." She studied his eyes. No flicker of guilt, no hesitation. That calm, polished arrogance, the kind that thinks it got away with everything. They sat. She poured wine. They clinked glasses. "To us," Martin said. Gloria smiled again. "To truth." They ate for 10 minutes in polite conversation. She let him talk. About traffic, about delays at O'Hare, about a tough negotiation with clients in a boutique hotel in downtown Chicago. When he reached for the bread, she slid the folder across the table. It was matte black, no labels, no names, just thick. Martin glanced at it, confused. "What's this?" Something I found on Zoom, she said, calmly refilling her glass. You left a window open, and a few accounts unlocked. Martin's face twitched, but he recovered quickly. He opened the folder. The first page, a still image from the Zoom call. Him seated in a robe, Emma's reflection in the mirror. The next page, Airbnb receipts from Miami and Santa Fe. Then, deed copies, bank transfers, screenshots of Emma's social media posts, the forged power of attorney, the reverse mortgage, the dissolved trust, the forged notary stamp, a printed copy of the text thread between Martin and Emma joking about old wives staying out of business. Each page tighter, heavier. By the time he reached the bottom, his hands had started to tremble. He cleared his throat. Gloria. No, she said quietly. This isn't one of those conversations where you get to perform contrition. He looked up. You're not sorry, she continued. You're just surprised I found out. He shifted in his seat, face tight. You're blowing this out of proportion. Emma was a mistake. Gloria snorted. That mistake has partial ownership in 3 of our properties, Martin. That mistake is a named partner in a fund you built using my family's money. And that mistake filed an LLC using my social security number. She stood up, picked up his wine glass, walked it over to the sink, poured it down the drain. Let's not toast to betrayal. Martin leaned forward. What do you want? She turned slowly. I already have it. He blinked. I have copies of every transaction, every forged document. I've consulted a lawyer. Your accounts will be frozen by Monday. The forged POA is already being investigated by the Notary Commission. You'll be served within 72 hours. You're divorcing me? She stared at him like he'd asked if water was wet. I'm erasing you. He went pale. Gloria, come on. We've built a life, a family. You built a lie. I just lived inside it. He stood now, jaw clenched. You'll ruin me. She tilted her head. You ruined yourself. I'm just pulling back the curtain. The room grew heavy. Finally, he dropped back into his chair. Who else knows? She smiled softly. Just my attorney, and the bank, and the fraud unit, and the Santa Fe district attorney, and the notary board, and my friend Pam, the one whose son works in media. Martin's face collapsed in on itself. She leaned forward, voice steady. But I'll make you a deal. No public lawsuit, no media circus. You sign everything over. House, condo, your stake in Lane and Hartman. You leave with your pension and your silence. He stared at her, shocked. Gloria added, if you contest, I go public. Your name gets tied to a wellness scam targeting retirees. Your mistress loses her platform. Your reputation burns. Silence stretched. Then, you're not the woman I married. She took her seat again. No, Martin, I'm the woman you didn't see coming. She reached for her fork, took another bite of beef bourguignon. Eat, she said softly. Might be your last warm meal in this house. He said nothing, and for the first time in decades, Gloria Hartman had the final word. Emma Lane was used to being underestimated. That was her entire brand. Soft words, softer lighting, silky affirmations wrapped in whispers of lavender and divine feminine alignment. Her followers, mostly middle-aged women and lonely young professionals, believed she was some sort of financial shaman, a healer of trauma, a midwife for manifesting abundance. What they didn't know was that she was also a thief. And Gloria Hartman had just scheduled her appointment. Using a pseudonym, Margaret Elwood, a wealthy widow from Vermont, Gloria booked a private prosperity coaching session through Emma's website. For $200 for a 1-hour Zoom call. She paid it. She waited. She studied. Then she struck. At exactly 3 p.m. on Thursday, Emma appeared on screen. Glossy hair, gold hoops, a silk blouse with a plunging neckline that tried a little too hard to say executive. Behind her, a blurred background of a luxury condo in Miami. Margaret, Emma smiled. It's such an honor to meet you. I love working with women in their power years. What would you like to manifest together? Gloria smiled, camera off for now. Her voice was warmer than usual. Syrupy, like the southern charm she once weaponized in parent-teacher meetings. I'm interested in moving some of my inheritance into passive investments. I heard you specialize in discrete asset structures? Emma's face lit up. She nodded, leaning in. Oh, absolutely. I work with high net worth women all the time. We build LLCs, family trusts, off-the-books holding groups, you name it. And marital discretion? Gloria asked sweetly. Emma grinned. Darling, most of my clients' husbands don't even know the properties exist. Gloria pressed record. For the next 20 minutes, Emma pitched her entire operation: unlicensed financial services, misuse of shell companies, manipulating legal loopholes for anonymous asset redirection. All of it on tape. Then Gloria spoke again, voice shifting. I have one more question, Emma. Of course. Gloria turned her camera on. Emma's smile froze. Gloria sat straight-backed in a tailored gray blazer. Her silver hair swept neatly into a low chignon. Her eyes were fire and frost all at once. Do you remember this face? Emma blinked. I'm Martin Hartman's wife, legal wife, primary beneficiary of all his assets, the one whose trust you drained, the one whose signature you helped forge. Emma didn't speak. Gloria clicked once. Her Zoom background changed instantly, now displaying a live feed from inside Emma's Miami condo. The camera was perfectly angled. Her kitchen counter, her favorite diffuser, even the chipped orchid pot near the balcony. Emma's face drained. I bought it 2 days ago, Gloria said. Your condo. You missed the public auction notice. See, Martin was desperate for liquidity when I cut him off. Emma's lips parted, but no sound came out. Gloria smiled. I had your LLC frozen this morning. You'll see it in your bank app. No more coaching payments, no more feminine empowerment scams. And tomorrow morning you'll be served. You can't, I have. You built your business on stolen money and forged consent. Every move you made, I followed. Every quote you posted, archived. Every illegal sale, documented. Emma stood up, knocking her ring light over. I'll call my attorney. Gloria didn't flinch. Do, and I'll send the Zoom recording to the Florida Attorney General's office, along with the 37 minutes of you bragging about laundering client funds through fake retreats. Emma ended the call. Gloria leaned, back in her chair, calm, collected, victorious. Then she opened her email and forwarded the recording. To her lawyer, to Cameron the advisor, and to a small, sharp legal journalist in Miami who had been waiting for her message. The subject line read, "This is the woman who built her empire on my name. Time to reclaim it." That night, Emma's coaching website went offline. Her Instagram lost 20,000 followers. And Gloria? She slept like a stone dropped in still water. There was nothing dramatic about the way Gloria Hartman began her legal war. No screaming, no social media meltdowns, no cryptic messages or public shaming, just documents. Hundreds of pages, notarized, time-stamped, bulletproof. She arrived at the law office dressed in charcoal gray, with her hair pinned neatly and her folder labeled Timeline of Fraud Exhibit A. Her attorney, Meredith Langston, specialized in elder financial abuse and white-collar divorce. She was 10 years younger than Gloria, but already known in local circles as a woman who didn't blink at blood. Meredith reviewed the evidence silently. Reverse mortgage without spousal consent, forged POA, trust account theft, asset concealment, shell companies built on fraudulent capital, a mistress involved in unlicensed financial advising, recorded confession. She looked up after an hour. Mrs. Hartman, this isn't just divorce material. This is felony grade. Gloria nodded. Good. I'm not here for closure. I'm here for consequences. So Meredith got to work. The first filings hit Martin like a sledgehammer. Injunction to freeze all jointly held accounts. List pendants filed on the Santa Fe property. Asset forfeiture request for the LLC tied to Gloria's stolen trust. Civil suit for fraudulent conveyance and emotional damages. Petition to reverse the reverse mortgage, citing forged consent, and a demand for full disclosure of all offshore and digital investments. Within 3 days, Martin's attorney called in a panic. Within 5, the bank flagged every transaction Martin attempted and reported the discrepancies to the fraud division. On the 6th day, Gloria received a small envelope. Inside was a card, no name, Just a handwritten note. You were never the quiet one. I just never listened. She tore it in half. But Gloria wasn't done. She didn't just want court victories. She wanted accountability, the kind that ripples through circles, the kind that makes men like Martin whisper, "She's the one who ruined him," in the same tone they once used to say, "She's just a wife." So she reached out to Lana Voss, an investigative journalist who had built a reputation exposing financial exploitation. They met for tea. Lana listened carefully as Gloria laid out the facts. Methodical, emotionless, meticulous. When Gloria finished, Lana leaned in and asked the one question Gloria had been waiting for. "Do you want the public to know the full story?" Gloria smiled. "I want women like me to know they're not crazy, or weak, or blind. I want them to know it's not too late to take the knife out of their back and hand it to their lawyer." Lana published the article a week later. How one retired professor exposed a $1 million marriage fraud scheme. It went viral, not tabloid viral, NPR viral. Quiet readers, smart readers, women who knew what it felt like to be betrayed with spreadsheets instead of fists. Emma's name trended locally. Her coaching empire collapsed overnight. Refund requests flooded in. Sponsors vanished. The LLC tied to Gloria's trust was seized for review. And Martin? He went into digital hiding. His former colleagues quietly distanced themselves. The man who once boasted about legacy wealth planning now couldn't rent a condo without cash up front. But Gloria didn't gloat. Instead, she donated $50,000 of her recovered funds to a legal defense fund for women over 60 dealing with financial exploitation. She named the fund the Glass Ledger because sometimes the most painful betrayals weren't seen in bruises. They were hidden in balance sheets. That evening, Gloria sat in her study with a fresh stack of documents. Final drafts for the divorce settlement, final demands for restitution, final checks for the lawyers who had become her war counsel. She picked up a pen, signed her name with deliberate grace. Then she leaned back in her chair, took a slow breath, and whispered to herself, "You should have killed me completely, Martin, because I don't leave survivors either." The courtroom wasn't large. No mahogany walls or grand chandeliers. Just beige paint, stiff chairs, and a judge who looked like she hadn't smiled since the Clinton administration. But Gloria Hartman didn't need theatrics. She only needed justice. Martin sat at the opposite table, flanked by two lawyers. His once-groomed hair was thinning now, his suit too expensive for how small he looked in it. He glanced at Gloria briefly. She didn't look back. She sat calm, spine straight, wearing a navy blue suit and a pearl pin once gifted by her late mother, a reminder of where her real legacy came from. When the judge entered, the room fell into silence. Meredith, Gloria's lawyer, rose first. She opened the folder labeled Hartman vs. Hartman and began to speak. Over the next 45 minutes, the judge listened as Meredith laid out every act of betrayal. The forged power of attorney, the unauthorized reverse mortgage, the stolen trust assets, the fraudulent LLC tied to Emma Lane, the property co-ownership deals executed without spousal knowledge, the notarized documents that had Gloria's signature, but not her consent, and most importantly, the digital evidence, video, screenshots, confessions. Martin's lawyer tried to object, but the evidence was airtight. Every page notarized, every timestamp verifiable, every signature matched with forensic reports showing inconsistencies. Martin shifted in his seat, flushed with a helplessness he couldn't negotiate his way out of. Then it was Gloria's turn. She rose slowly, took the stand with the quiet poise of a woman who had buried her grief, weaponized her pain, and sharpened it into something lethal. The judge asked if she wished to say anything. Gloria spoke clearly. This wasn't just infidelity. This was premeditated financial strangulation. He didn't just lie. He took my savings, my home, my family's legacy. He made me a ghost in my own life and smiled while doing it. Her voice didn't break once, but her final words landed like stone. I don't want revenge. I want recognition of what he tried to erase. The judge nodded slowly. She shuffled papers. Then she spoke. Her ruling was swift, brutal, precise. The forged power of attorney was declared invalid. The reverse mortgage was reversed due to fraud. Gloria was awarded full ownership of the primary residence, the Santa Fe property, and Martin's co-investments with Emma. Martin's accounts, including private pensions, were ordered liquidated to repay the stolen trust fund with interest. Gloria was granted 70% of all marital assets, plus emotional damages for breach of fiduciary duty. And finally, a non-disparagement clause. Martin was forbidden to speak of Gloria, the divorce, or Emma publicly, under penalty of further financial loss. The ruling hit like thunder. Martin's lawyer whispered furiously in his ear. Martin didn't speak. He just stared ahead, dazed. As the session adjourned, Martin stood and reached into his coat for his phone. Gloria was already walking past. "Gloria," he said quietly. She stopped, turned halfway. Not enough to face him, just enough to let him know she heard. He opened his mouth, then closed it. She waited 2 seconds, then gave him the courtesy of her final words. "You didn't just cheat on your wife. You robbed a woman who trusted you for 45 years. And now, you're going to spend the next 10 paying for it." She walked out without looking back. Outside the courthouse, Meredith hugged her. "You were magnificent," she said. Gloria smiled faintly. "He forgot who taught him how to speak. I just reminded him how it feels to be silenced." A reporter nearby tried to ask for a statement. Gloria simply said, "Justice is not revenge. It's memory with legal teeth." Then she got into her car, a quiet sedan, the same one she'd driven for years, and left behind the man who thought he could rewrite her life with a forged signature. The roses were blooming again, deep crimson, velvety, their petals curled like secrets unfolding. Gloria Hartman trimmed them in the early light, her fingers steady around the shears, her breath calm and even. It had been 3 months since the court ruling. 3 months since Martin walked out of that courtroom, a hollow man, stripped of his illusions, his leverage, and the quiet woman he thought would never leave. The house was hers now, not just legally, spiritually. She had repainted the guest room, replaced the leather chairs Martin always insisted on with linen and oak. She'd sold the vacation property in Santa Fe and used part of the money to start a scholarship for women returning to college after 60. She called it the Second Bloom Grant. Because roses weren't the only things that bloomed late, her mornings were different now. She didn't rush. She didn't wait for anyone to come home. She read long poems by the window. She brewed her coffee slowly. And on weekends, she volunteered at a local financial literacy clinic, helping women understand their bank statements, their property deeds, their legal rights. No one suspected the quiet woman with silver hair and a gentle voice had once taken down a multi-million-dollar fraud ring in pearls and courtroom heels. But that's how Gloria liked it. One afternoon, a journalism student named Sophie came by for an interview. Lana Voss had recommended her. Sharp, discreet, and hungry to learn. Sophie sat on the garden bench, recorder on, eyes wide. "I read your story," she said. "You don't look like someone who destroyed 2 people's lives." Gloria smiled faintly. "I didn't destroy anything. I just removed the masks." "But didn't it feel ugly? The betrayal? The legal mess? The exposure?" Gloria looked up at the sun filtering through the vines. "It didn't feel ugly," she said. "It felt clean. Truth has a way of doing that. It burns, but it purifies." Sophie nodded slowly. "What would you say to women who find themselves in your position?" Gloria set her shears down. "I'd say this. Don't underestimate the power of silence, but don't mistake silence for surrender, either." She leaned forward, voice steady. "Rage is loud. Grief is loud. But strategy? Strategy whispers until it roars." Sophie clicked her pen, visibly shaken by the calmness in her voice. "And the man? Your ex-husband?" Gloria blinked slowly. "I hope he finds peace, because I already have." They wrapped the interview shortly after. As Sophie left, Gloria returned to her garden. There, among the blooming rose bushes, stood a new stone marker. Subtle, elegant, not a gravestone, a reminder, etched in delicate script. Legacy is not what you leave behind. It's what no one can take from you. She traced the letters once gently. Then she sat on the bench beside it and let the quiet embrace her. No screaming, no headlines, no more secrets, just the birds, the wind, and a woman who had lost everything and taken it back on her own terms. Gloria Hartman hadn't just survived betrayal, she'd rewritten the story. And this time, her name was on every page.